Welcome to NCPDP Unscripted, the podcast where healthcare meets real talk. Each episode, we will dive into unscripted conversations with industry leaders, changemakers, and innovators, discussing the challenges, breakthroughs, and behind-the-scenes stories you won't hear anywhere else. Whether you're on your morning commute or taking a break between meetings, settle in because it's time to get unscripted.
So Lathe, welcome to NCPDP Unscripted. So excited to have you on the podcast today.
It's great to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Of course. So you and I have known each other for many, many years, been in the e-prescribing space and kind of around that. And I'm sure some of our members know you, but I'm sure some of our listeners probably don't. So tell us who you are and what you do.
Oh, wow. Do we have that much time to talk about my old history in healthcare?
Yeah, exactly.
I'll take this off. Well, I was actually reminiscing recently because I've been in the industry for 28 years in healthcare tech. I've been in e-prescribing for about 20 years of that. I've been mostly focused on the prescriber side the early part of my career when it comes to e-prescribing, and then kind of shifted over to the pharmacy side. So been working with retailers, providing network services for many, many years, and that has led me up to where I'm at right now, which is with First Databank, and I run the FDB Vila network.
Great. So I want to dive in, probably starting there. So, e-prescribing has been around for a long time. I was also very early days. I've been kind of reading recently and hearing some folks talk about how e-prescribing needs to change. And I think, kind of that traditional having the prescription go to just a chosen pharmacy in the EHR is maybe not the right way to do it anymore. How do we get the prescription to the patient? I think you guys at Vila are doing some of that work. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure, I'd be happy to. Yeah, I think like any technology, there's stepping stones, right? You start out with something, at the time innovative and simple, but that gets us to the next step. And I think e-prescribing, we've been on that first step for a long time.
Yeah.
And although we have evolved, we have changed, and the standards have done such great work for us in the country, we're at that point where technology is just affording us so many opportunities. When we created e-prescribing in its infancy in the early 2000s, we did some amazing things, but we left one critical piece completely out, and that was the patient, the consumer. And so as we began building Vila back in 2020, and we're looking to bring it to market, we obviously wanted to have all the bells and whistles and services that the healthcare community is familiar with, but we also wanted to innovate. That was the whole point. It's something new and different. So that's we looked at how do we include the patient in that workflow, in that experience, without disrupting the provider or the pharmacy's workflow.
Yeah, that's great. And you guys, the other thing I've heard you talk about a lot is kind of redundancy, and I think we saw that with actually one of your old companies that you worked for, where networks were down. And so talk to me a little bit about that and how you kind of think about that.
Unfortunate, a great company, worked for them for many, many years, but with Change Healthcare, it's just like anything, the worst can happen, and that's exactly what happened. And so last year, when they were breached and they were ransomed, it caused a significant breakdown within the healthcare workflow process, and I think more than what people really anticipated.
Yeah.
And it surprises me because as this conversation continues, I'll be having a conversation with like a health system and ask them, "Were you affected by the change thing?" And yes, every single one of them was in some way, some more than others, but in some way affected. And so I think it's really bringing to light a key issue in healthcare, which is where are we single-threaded, and what do we need to do? What is our responsibility in healthcare technology to make sure that we're not?
Yeah. I mean, what's going to happen, right? If a network goes down, your patients aren't going to be able to get their prescription. You're ending up with the paper again, right? And
I'm almost
driving it to the pharmacy. Like I'm kind of.
No, I've spent significant time worrying about. I'm a worrywart, so I think about these things. But I honestly, what are we doing? We're doing over 2 billion prescriptions annually,
exactly.
right? You think about that, electronically moving, and even if for a short time, call it a week, every prescription had to go via fax or phone call. We're going to have serious problems, and we need to avoid that at all costs. And I even hate muttering it on. Publicly, but because I would hate for anything to happen like that.
But it's true. You don't even think about it, right? We just expect it. Hey, we're going to go to the doctor and prescription's going to end up at the pharmacy. So interesting. Now, I know FDB, or Vila is part of FDB, which is part of kind of a broader Hearst Health. I followed Hearst Health for a while now. You guys do kind of a lot of innovative stuff. So just curious about some of the stuff that you guys are doing, beyond Vila, around innovation and, things like that you can share.
Yeah, I'm probably not even the right person to talk real detail, but I think broadly, Hearst Health, we're 6 divisions. We all sort of focus on different aspects of healthcare. Some are a lot of them are data content driven, but some are actually service driven as well. But one of our recent acquisitions, IQVIA, is a really large organization that focuses on scheduling for healthcare specifically. So we're really focused on how do we improve the process for workflow for, even down to how you fulfill employees and how they work versus, as well as, data content for claim processing on the medical side, which is what MCG does and some of those. So we, right now, one of our key focuses just in all, and I think it's becoming a cliche, but it's how is AI going to affect everything?
Yeah.
And how are we going to apply AI within our organization solutions to improve the experience with our customers? That's kind of been the key focus.
Yeah, makes sense. So let's talk about price transparency. So you guys, I think it's RxEOB with RX Wallet. I think you guys do some work with them. Can you tell us a little bit about that, and how are you guys approaching price transparency?
Yeah, well, I think it goes back to that piece around where does the consumer fit in, and one thing that we've all been proven is consumers are really good at shopping.
Yeah.
We bank on that, right, in every
Right.
aspect, and so what we've looked at is how do we enable patients to shop better, just as consumers do, because the patient is a consumer at the end of the day, and so we looked at with the way healthcare has tried to create solutions around that, which is providing pricing to providers, doctors, and although I think that's a powerful first step, at the end of the day, I don't need my doctor to help me shop online. I don't need that.
They don't have time either.
I know how to do it.
Yeah.
So what our key focus has been on is there a way that we can provide the details of a prescription to a patient before they actually select the pharmacy that they have it routed to, and we call it kind of a pre-event. But Vila is a network. We are not an app. We have no desire to be a consumer app.
Yeah.
Consumer apps are really good at being consumer apps, and so what Vila is focused on is we're engaging and enabling the consumer apps to participate on Vila. So, for example, as a patient, as I'm sitting with my caregiver, my doctor, as they ask me, where would you like a prescription sent, I can say, send it to me on my phone via whatever app. Insert name here, RxEOB or RX is a good example of that. But essentially what that does is the prescription details go to the RX Wallet app. The patient's engaged. They can access the details of the script. They can see pricing information. At the end of that experience, they select the pharmacy they do want it filled at, and then Vila routes it on as a new RX. And so we're not missing any steps.
Right.
We're not disrupting workflow for the doctor. They can write the script and move on,
but
we're engaging that patient, and we're really excited about that opportunity.
Yeah, I think that's great. And I mean, that's kind of that traditional how we built e-prescribing in the past, right? It's got to change. It can't just go and go straight to the pharmacy. I think having that patient be part of that's fantastic. So tell me a little bit more about kind of what you guys are focused on in the next few years. I mean, I think e-prescribing is definitely, I think at a point where there's kind of the standards, right? And we're at NCPDP. We're starting to focus a little more on how does a pharmacist do more clinical services, things like that. So what are you guys focused on in the next couple of years?
Well, from a Vila network perspective, it's about connectivity for us, right? We can't be a fully redundant network. We can't say we are 100% until we have 100%. So our focus right now is getting every retail pharmacy, every mail order pharmacy on Vila and accessible as an alternative or redundant network, and same with the prescriber side. So, there are over 500 plus EHRs nationwide. So we have our work cut out for us. At the same time, I would say our key focus while we're doing that is also making sure that we're providing the right tools and enabling the consumer to access that prescription. So as we do bring on EHR systems, large ambulatory or Epic Health systems coming onto Vila, it's not just connect to us for the routing stuff, but it's access to eligibility information, it's access to medication history, it's enabling applications to be a part of that, so that we're really bringing the innovation along with it, not just a Me Too connection, if you will.
Yeah. So because we're at NCPDP, what do you guys get out of coming to these meetings?
Well, number one, love coming to NCPDP events. You guys do such a great job of organizing. All the right people are here, both from NCPDP as well as from partners, to have conversations. It's a great place for us to have discussions around how do we enable the patient, and how do we make that policy? How do we make that more of a part of the standard? And so it's such a great opportunity to come here and have these conversations all in one place for a couple days.
Yeah, great, fantastic. Well, I appreciate you joining me, and just thanks for being part of the podcast.
It's always a pleasure,
Yeah.
Pooja. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right.
That's a wrap on this episode of NCPDP Unscripted. Thanks for joining us as we explore the voices and ideas driving innovation in healthcare. If you'd like to be a guest on the show or have topic ideas you'd love to hear us cover, we want to hear from you. Until next time, stay curious, stay connected, and stay unscripted. Our podcast is proudly sponsored by Marks Productions.